You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Euro 2020 review show right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be your host as always, joined here for day 5 with, as always, Mark Shankland. Shankers, how are we?
I am good, Scott. How are you?
Brilliant, all good. Willie Lyle's here as well. Willie, how are we?
I'm all right, mate. I'm good.
Brilliant, and we're joined by our special guest as well, Andy Rodgers. Andy, pleasure to welcome you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
No worries, mate. All good.
Brilliant. We'll dissect the 2 games that have happened today. We'll preview the 3 games coming up tomorrow, but we have to start. Obviously, we got Shankers' views last night. Wally, Scotland's performance yesterday, 24 hours on, how do you feel?
Still gutted. I don't think we played that bad. We've created probably more chances in any game under Steve Clarke. We've not really been ruthless. We've been punished with mistakes. Very disappointing. I thought that was my best chance to get after a flyer and we've no. So it's a damp squib, but so as it's gutting.
Andy, what was your thoughts yesterday when after the result? Were you as gutted as Willie was?
Pretty similar. Even looking back at the game, the worst it is if you look back at the Czechs aren't a great side, are they? They're not a great side, and we did have chances, but there was mistakes and probably bad decisions before the game, during the game. But a game we should have won, and we've lost it, so it's made it difficult.
No. What's your predictions for Wembley? How do you think Steve Clarke should set up, and do you think we can get something?
I think he'll set up pretty similar, to be honest. Maybe with a couple of personnel changes, but I would be surprised if he changed shape in any way. It'll be more personnel change. Obviously, hopefully Tierney's fit. That'd be a big one. Although I don't think Cooper done much wrong, in fairness, but I think he's a massive miss for us, Tierney. I would be amazed if Adams doesn't play instead of Dykes. I can't see him playing the 2 of them at Wembley. But it's more going to be personnel changes rather than anything else, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Wally, would you agree with that?
Aye, totally. As I say, if Tierney's fit, Tierney plays, I'd imagine. And I don't understand why Adams didn't play in the first place, but I'd imagine Adams would play, and I don't think he'll play 2 up. I think it'll be, I don't know, Armstrong maybe half or something. I can't see him playing Dykes and Adams, so I'd imagine it'll be Adams and a other off him or something. It'll be pretty much shape up the same.
Definitely. Shankers, what's your thoughts? Obviously, you were here last night and we were talking about it, but is your opinion changed in anything after with 24 hours to reflect?
No, the boys have pretty much covered it. Scotland had probably majority of chances. As I say, it's probably the best chance of getting 3 points in the group. The other 2 games are, I hate saying this, but they're almost a free hit. You're not expected to go and beat Croatia or England. So I'm not saying go there and go 4-3-3 and go for it or anything like that, because they'll just pick you off. But I think you need to maybe play somebody with a wee bit of legs, whether it's Forrest or Fraser up front, to try and turn them a wee bit and stretch the game. But it's going to be tough. It's an uphill battle, and I feel it was slightly almost on Friday if England. I think England were great that night there, but if they all turn up, well, anything could happen, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on to the games that took place today. We had 2 games in Group F. The group of death kicked off with Hungary versus Portugal. It took Portugal a wee while, but they managed to get 3 goals in the last 10 minutes through Rafa Guerreiro and then a double from Ronaldo. Historic day for Ronaldo. He closes in 3 goals away from the Ali Dai's record of 109 goals for international football. Shankers, what was your thoughts in the game?
I thought, when you look at a scoreline 3-0, it looks like a battering. I think if it went Portugal went in 3-0 at half time, I don't think Hungary could have complained about it. But as they go in 0-0 and then the later the game goes, you actually got to feel for Hungary because 3-0 doesn't really reflect on the second half performance. I thought they were pretty stuffy. Portugal kind of were limited. Thought Portugal kind of set up. See with the two kind of defensive-minded players with Carvalho and Danilo, I think it is. I think they could have maybe played Sanchez for the start. When he came on, they looked a wee bit better. He was carrying the ball forward, making things happen. And as I said, the first goal goes in at 86, and then Hungary come out a wee bit, and then they get picked off in the second and third. And the third goal was world class, to be honest. A couple of quick 1-2s, and Ronaldo's in. And if you don't take chances against teams like that, they're going to punish you, especially players like Ronaldo in the team, and that's what happened in the end up.
Definitely. Andy, what was your thoughts on the game, and how important is Cristiano Ronaldo? How does he still do it?
He's just, you can't describe how good he is, can you? I was watching the game thinking to myself, for a good hour anyway, that he was pretty poor.
Mm-hmm.
He looked off it. He looked a bit sluggish. He didn't look sharp, and then obviously the first one's a penalty, but as Shankar says, the second goal that he scores it's an unbelievable goal. And just the later the game went, the more he came in and started having a bit more of an influence on it. And I didn't think Portugal were great, and I totally agree with the two sitting midfielders. I don't think they had to play them, but whether they've played them the day in preparation for the next two games, they will need the two of them then. But I felt at half time he should have probably took one of them out and as you say, brought Sanchez in, or another attacking player of some sort. But like they've won the game, that was the main thing for them, and they've actually won the game by 3 goals, which might be big for them. If they don't finish in the top 2 places in the group, you'd imagine that would be them guaranteed a best third place.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Portugal, they were pretty flat, but once they get that first goal, they did. I think Hungary just get kind of sluggish as well. But yeah, Portugal done really well. Ronaldo's goal was world class at the end. But Willie, who kind of stood out to you?
I think Portugal were pretty poor, to be honest. Like, Hungary set up to frustrate them, and they did that until they scored, obviously, and the wheels come off the bogey. But I wasn't impressed really much with Portugal, but I still think they'll do enough to get out the group. I think I've got enough quality. That front three is decent, and then you look at what they're bringing on. Ronaldo, as Andy says, very quiet, and then he gets his penalty and scored 2, and becomes the highest goal scorer in the Euros history, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
5 straight Euro tournaments.
He scored in 5 straight Euro tournaments and all. Get what I mean? So they've always got a threat there. But I think Portugal had to win the night, to be honest. Get what I mean? That's all the teams in that group will be looking at a free hit at Hungary, to be honest. Get what I mean? They're looking at 3 points there, and then the rest of them will be kind of scrapping and see what happens. But I think the 3 teams in that group will go through.
Yeah, Portugal obviously go to Germany next, and Hungary go to play France. Obviously, France and Germany played just finished watching the France-Germany game there. France get the victory 1-0 in the Allianz Arena. Own goal from Mats Hummels was enough for France. Andy, it wasn't the best game. We're obviously looking forward to this game. It wasn't the best game of football we've ever seen, but at times France looked world class. Just some of their passings. I thought Pogba was excellent in the middle of the park. I thought defensively they done really well. Germany could consider themselves no lucky to get something, but I thought probably the result was fair, to be honest.
Aye, I thought first half especially France were miles better, and then second half, the longer the game went on, you probably seen them sit back a wee bit, try to protect the lead. But even when they're doing that, they're so dangerous with Mbappe's pace. Like, there was one that he got one played through, and he must have gave Hummels about 15 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And he absolutely put the turbos on, and that's what they can do. They can sit in and still hurt you. But as you say, Germany, the second half they were slightly better. They had a few chances, but France looked very comfortable. And as you say, Pogba was excellent. I thought Griezmann's work rate was ridiculous. He gets a lot of stick, but for a forward player, his work rate was incredible. And as I say, Mbappe on the break is scary. So. Nah, they'll be right there. They'll be right there.
Shankers, you've raved about this France team for a while. How did they live up to the hype in the first game?
I thought they always looked as if they were in control at times, especially in the first half. Maybe the second half, Germany kind of came into it a wee bit. I don't know if that was France maybe holding on to their lead, try to get them in the break, which they did a couple of times. The goal that they called off Mbappe, you see that finish? It's exceptional, man. He's gave a wee shimmy dummy, and then he found the corner. It's a brilliant finish, and quite got it when it was chopped off. To be fair, but I don't think we can really argue with the result. Germany maybe had a couple of chances on, but as Andy says, Pogba. Well, what is the difference?
Why exactly? What is the difference? Like?
He's got Kante doing his dirty work, and it leaves him kind of free roam almost in the middle. The pass for the goal is exceptional. So it is. I don't think Andy, apart from him seeing that pass on, Hernandez runs onto it. He plays the ball across, and if Hummels leaves it, there's a tap in at the back post. He has to do something with it, and unfortunately, he's put it in his own net. But I think. Next game with Portugal, Germany. I think Germany have to win it, to be honest, because if Portugal and France, is it Portugal Germany next?
Portugal play Germany next year, and so France play Hungary.
Portugal go and win that game, and France presumably beat Hungary, then Germany's toiling.
Mm-hmm.
You would still expect them to maybe go through in third place, but if they don't win the next game, then they could be toiling, and it's looking like France are going to go out the group with 9 points out of 9.
Is that the best we've seen Pogba in a long time?
I'm no surprised he's done that with France, to be honest. I just don't get why. Maybe personnel, it probably is down to personnel because of the players that he's got running about him in the French team compared to Man United. But individually, he should be Man United's best player up there with Fernandes and carrying him in games. You just don't see that. I don't know what it is. I don't get it, but I'm not surprised that he's played like that with France because everybody talks about it, how good he is with France compared to Man United. But he was brilliant, to be honest.
Wally, what were your thoughts in the France-Germany game?
I think France did enough to win the game. I think Germany looked toothless. They didn't look like scoring. I thought France were very comfortable. Germany had quite a lot of the ball, especially second half, but never really looked like trouble in Lloris at all in the goals. What as Mark Shankland said there, Pogba was brilliant. His assist for the goals tremendous. So it's baffling why you can play like that for France and it just doesn't do it for Man United. It just looks disinterested for Man United. But I don't know. It looks like he's the main man. He's the leader of France. I mean, he seems to just turn it on. But with Mbappe and that in the break, and I think he's a superstar. France will be formidable. I think they'll win it. I really do think they'll win it.
See, by Gnabry's had a great chance.
The one he's hit
55 minutes, where he's dumped it into the ground and it's went over. If he scores that, he can change the tie in its head, but it just shows you have to put the chances away in games like that. Or
they don't seem to have a proper number 9 Germany. I don't think.
That's what I was going to say.
What's the goal?
You can't win the Euros without a striker.
You
can't win it without a striker. They've not got an actual striker. So
no. I mean, I know Werner, but I don't know. Werner obviously didn't come on, but I don't know. I just don't see where the goals are coming from, to be honest.
You look at Germany with Werner and Gnabry and that, and then France have got Benzema, Mbappe, Griezmann, Giroud.
I know.
Flip side, I mean, that's what you're up against, to be honest.
We've seen every team now in the Euros. I'm going to just get round the panel and say who's the team that's impressed you after the first game. We'll start with Shankers.
Well, I think you obviously have to say France, but I don't think it comes as a surprise. So they're the obvious ones. I kind of talked down Holland in the previous show. I actually thought they were pretty decent, even though they conceded the 2 late goals late on. But I actually thought Holland played pretty decent. Other than that, England had a wee spell, but I didn't think they were world beaters. I think there's better teams in the tournament than them. Other than that, Spain weren't really up to much last night. So I think, as Willie said, I think France are the team to beat. if you finish in a better place in France, well, you win the tournament for me.
I think that if you beat France, I think you're probably going to win the tournament as well. Willie, who stood out to you in the first round of games?
I was very impressed with Italy, to be fair. First game.
Aye, by the way, I've forgot all about them.
Against Turkey. Everybody's like Turkey's dark horses and all that, and I went and beat them 3-0 quite convincingly. I was quite impressed with Italy. France tonight, but I thought they were comfortable. I thought really setting the head on fire. Apart from that, there's not been really anybody you think, well, it's anybody's tournament. I mean, there's not really been an actual standout team, but I was impressed with Italy first game, definitely.
Andy, who stood out to you in the first round of games?
It's pretty similar to the boys. Italy, for me, has probably been the best performance, or the most convincing performance, but I would probably throw Belgium in, because although they weren't great, I didn't think they were great. They won 3-0 comfortably, and that was without De Bruyne and Hazard. So if you put De Bruyne and Hazard into that team in the next week or so, I think they can only get better. And as I say, I wasn't overly impressed with them, but they won 3-0 at the end of the day. So I think Italy and Belgium for me is probably the two that have maybe stood out a bit.
Brilliant. We'll move on to the games that are coming up tomorrow. We have at 2:00 in St. Petersburg, Finland, who are coming off the win against Denmark, against Russia, who are looking to bounce back from their defeat to Belgium. Wally, what are we thinking for this?
A draw. I think it could be a draw. The game at Finland obviously beat Denmark, and it's no the way you want to see things happening. I mean, I don't know.
Do you think Finland may prove themselves though after that? Like,
I don't know about prove themselves. I mean, I think I don't know how it's came about. Like, they've had to play the game and they've went and won, and I don't know. It's not a great situation to be in for anybody, to be fair. I mean, and what was the rush? How did Russia go on?
3-0 with Belgium.
Oh, aye. Well, what do you mean? So they really need a result, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after getting beat 3-0 for Belgium. I thought Finland did all right. I think Denmark dominated the start of that game, and then obviously what happened with Eriksson, it totally changed the dynamics of the game, and obviously Denmark missed the penalty as well. But I thought Finland did all right under the circumstances, but I think that could be a draw.
Did you see earlier about the Denmark manager come out and says if you've got a player with COVID in the team, you can delay the game 48 hours, but if your player has a cardiac arrest, you still have to play. So you have to wonder if the decision was down to them, or whether they can if the manager comes out and says that.
I think Schmeichel said that they got three options. Similarly, they got told they could play the game that night, they could come back at 12 o'clock the next day, or they could forfeit the match. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
maybe just stop.
Can you make that decision? Can you make a decision like that though? In that through your mind,
I know.
You don't make the right decision when you make a decision. It's basic, like as instinctual as that. You don't make the right one. They've maybe thought we're here, we'll be playing it. Can see if they go and sit overnight and it plays in their mind. Then they're like, as soon as we got back in at 12 o'clock, and then obviously the third option's a no-goer anyway. You're not going to forfeit the match.
No.
Definitely. Andy, Russia will be looking to bounce back after the defeat to Belgium. What do you think about this game? Can you see Russia getting a result, or could Finland stop the world again?
Again, it's I'm like, well, it's hard to get a judgment on this game, because I think the Denmark-Finland game's so false. It's like I don't know. Finland might have been good. Denmark might have been good. I don't know. It's just a false game to judge. And as I say, I didn't think Belgium were great, but they still won 3-0. So that obviously tells you Russia were pretty poor. So it's one of them where, to be honest, it's a hard one to judge, and I would probably go for a draw myself at this stage as well. But I think Finland, looking at it, I think Finland have maybe got slightly technically better players. So if I was pushed on a winner, it would be them, but I'd probably go a draw.
Brilliant. Shankers, what's your thoughts for Finland versus Russia?
I think, as the boys said, Finland's found themselves in a bit of a false position, but they've got to just get over it. They've got 3 points. They've put themselves in a right good position to get out of this group. They've got Belgium in the last game, so if they go and win this game with 6 points, then the chances are they're going. Well, in fact, no, the chances are they'll be through if they go and win this. If Finland get told they were going to be in a position to play Russia to get through, you're biting your hand off all day. It's pretty evenly matched. Russia need a result. Sometimes when you need a result, you find you kind of lift it a wee bit, but it's a hard one. I can't call it either. I'm going to have to sit in the fence and say a draw as well.
I think a draw. I don't think both teams have covered themselves. Well, Finland obviously have done really well to get the result, but
I think Finland would take a draw.
Finland would take a draw in a heartbeat. Yeah, I mean it's all in basically the first goal. I think it's going to be one of those games, but I'm going to go for a draw. 5 o'clock in Baku, we have Turkey versus Wales. This is two teams that badly need a win. Shankers, how do we see this one?
As you said, must win for both the teams if they want a chance of progressing. They'll probably both feel that they can win the game. I fancy Turkey. Both teams think they've got a wee bit more quality, but Wales have got they've got a Bale who can win your game at the drop of a hat. I'm not saying he's similar to Ronaldo, but as long as Wales have got Bale, they've always got a chance of winning a game of football. I fancy Turkey, both of them. I think they've got better quality in their team.
You listen to Lachlan?
It's a hard one to choose, but I think I don't actually think both teams will go through in that group. I think Switzerland and Italy will both go through possibly, but I think Turkey will beat Wales.
Okay, Willie, what we're thinking for Turkey versus Wales, and how much will Wales be looking to build in that first point?
I didn't see the game on Saturday. We were actually playing, so I've never saw it. But I kind of listened to the radio, but I can make it Switzerland were the better team. And then the managers took off Shaqiri and went a wee bit defensively, and actually let Wales back into the game, and they've obviously got an equaliser. But it's a big game for Turkey. They need a bounce after the big defeat that they got against obviously Italy. I think, as Shankar says, I think Turkey's got more quality than what Wales have got. But Wales have got a good togetherness, so I think it's a tough game. I think Turkey maybe just nick it, to be fair. I think they'll just have a wee bit too much quality.
Andy, how do we see Turkey and Wales in Baku?
Again, pretty similar. The Wales game is, again, the only game I've not seen in the tournament, so I didn't see much of them, but I've obviously watched them in qualifiers and recent years. I think Turkey might have set up very defensive against Italy, very negative, just because it's Italy, first game of the tournament. I think you'll maybe find they'll come a complete different game plan against Wales and maybe take the game to Wales. And I know Turkey are quite a young side. I don't think it suited them playing the way they played. I think they want to go and express themselves, get on the front foot, and I think Turkey could have too much for them, to be fair.
I'm going to go for a draw. I think Turkey are better than they've shown against Italy, but I think Wales will set up for a draw as well. I can't split the two teams. I think they're very evenly matched, so I'm going to go for a draw.
Is Aaron Ramsey playing?
He played the first game. He's probably one of the best players actually in the first game. But again, it's all I just can see this being a slog, maybe one each I'm going to go for. But we'll move on to 8 o'clock in the Stadio Olimpico in Rome as Italy look to carry on their impressive showing against Turkey when they take on Switzerland. Wally, this Italy team, do we think they're good enough to maybe go all the way, and how do you see this game going?
I wasn't sure to begin with, but after watching them against Turkey in the first game, you're thinking, by the way, they've got a chance. They've got a chance. I was very impressed with them. Obviously, they'll be looking to win the game, and then that'll be then qualified, obviously, with 6 points. As I say, I didn't see much of Switzerland, so I really can't judge them. But I was very impressed with Italy. I think they'll go in. I think they'll win it. I think they'll beat Switzerland, to be honest.
And did you see Italy winning this as well, keeping their 100% record?
Aye, I do. I don't think Switzerland have got enough at the top end of the park. to trouble Italy. I think Italy defensively looked so solid. I know Turkey never offered much, but they look. You know what you get with their defenders, and I don't think Switzerland will hit enough. And then I was actually, as Willie says, I was impressed with Italy at the other end. Obviously, you know Immobile's goals, but just their overall game surprised me a wee bit, and I think they can go deep into the tournament.
Yeah, I think they could as well. I think Italy 2-0 here. I'm confident they're going to carry on. They look, as you say, they look so solid at the back as well, and they've got that attacking threat with in midfield. I think they're just an excellent team, and I think they'll just build more into the tournament. Shankers, how do we see this Italy game going? Do we think this Italy team could be as good as we think they are after that first game?
Well, I'll be very surprised if it's anything but an Italy win. They were very good the other night there. I think a lot of people had kind of tipped Turkey to a kind of dark horse in the tournament. I don't really know where they got it from, maybe because the boy up front had scored a few goals for Lyle, but Italy blew them right out the water. Didn't give them a minute's peace. The pressing was at the front was brilliant, and they kept the ball really well. In the middle of the park, Jorginho thought he was one of the better players. Insigne, whatever his name is. And then the left back, I forget his name, I said it. Him. I thought he was brilliant as well. So I'll be surprised if it's anything but an Italy win. But Switzerland got a point against Wales on Saturday. So even if they lose, they're not out of it. It depends what happens in the other results. Say Turkey go and beat Wales, it could be set up for a good last group game between Switzerland and Turkey. But I think Italy will have enough.
So we're going for we're all round the board. We're going for an Italy win.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take a quick look. We'll ask Willie and Andy their predictions for Friday night. Obviously, Scotland, England, Wembley. Willie, what's your predictions for Friday? Can Scotland get a result and maybe get something out of this group?
I'm talking with my head in my heart here.
Don't use your head. Don't think.
No, that's maybe a better idea. I honestly can't see his thing. I just think England's got too much quality. I wasn't overly impressed with England, to be honest, but I still think they'll have too much for us and they'll beat us. They will beat us. I don't think we'll get a tanking. I don't think we'll get battered. I think we'll stay in the game, and I think we maybe get beat 2-0. I honestly do. Well, if we can get a wee draw out it, then you're going into the Croatia game at Hampden. We hope again, get what I mean, and hopefully can maybe beat the aim, and 4 points could probably, I don't know, would that get you third place, into the third place? I don't care. But nah, I honestly can't see us getting it in at Wembley, to be honest, mate.
Andy, what's your prediction for Friday night?
I think it'll be difficult as well. I think I actually think it might work against us, the fact that England will probably make a few changes and bring fresh legs. I think Rashford might come in, Grealish might come in, and his boys are going to have a bit to prove. Whereas, look, I was like, well, I wasn't overly impressed with England. I wasn't overly impressed. And the good thing is that the last maybe 3, 4, 5 games against England have all been tight. We've been in the game. They've not battered us for a while. So I think they'll go with a wee bit of confidence. And again, if we can scrape a draw, ideal. I think what might help as well is the Czech Croatia game being before it.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be a surprise to me if the Czech Republic beat Croatia. And then, so if they were to beat Croatia, then we can go to Wembley at sort of a free hit. Because Croatia have no points, and you just go and whatever happens then, it comes down to the last game at Hampden against them as a sort of shootout to see who gets third place, and you never know, it just might sneak you through. So, but look, it's going to be difficult. But I'll go one each. I think we'll scrape a one each.
Andy's confident. Shankers, are you sharing that?
I love his optimism. I really do. But as Andy says, I think England will make a few changes, and when they're taking Mount or Foden out, they're bringing in Grealish or Rashford.
Aye.
If it's Rice or Phillips goes out, I don't think Phillips will go out because he was brilliant on like there. If Rice goes out, they're bringing Jordan Henderson in. They're bringing like for like in every position, and is this Bellingham, Jude Bellingham as well, if he plays. And I think the worst thing for us is all these players play with no fear. Like, see, England teams before with big names like Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard and all that, they always had something to live up to. Whereas these players aren't quite at that level yet, so they're playing with a lot more freedom and almost playing with a smile on their face because they've not really, they don't put pressure on themselves. And I think that works against us because the way the Grealish and your Mounts, Fodens, the way they play the game just totally suits English style of play. So I'm not too confident. I just hope it doesn't turn into a batter and that it would be humiliating at England at Wembley. England going batter us, then that's us definitely at the tournament. For 3 points with a bad goal difference isn't going to take you through. I'm going to go with Willie. I'll go 2-0.
2-0. So we will.
England, that is.
England, I'm no surprised he went for England there. It's tough. I know we'll touch on it maybe later on in the week, but it's tough to see Scotland going to Wembley and getting a result. But we'll go through that later on in the next couple of shows. But that'll do us for this episode. I want to thank Willie and Andy for coming on the show tonight. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Cheers, mate.
Brilliant. Shankland, it's been a pleasure as always to be on.
Oh, pleasure's mine, mate.
Brilliant. Thanks very much to everyone that's listened in. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be back with another show reviewing all the games, and please subscribe to us on social media and follow us on our social media channels and YouTube. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.